Hi guys, this is week 51 Project Life and this is where I'm at so far. I sat down last night to do this page and I got to this point and I wasn't loving it. It's so green and I was feeling super uninspired, and so rather than just pushing on like I normally do, I decided to stop. I stopped, turned the camera off, and actually in a fit of frustration I deleted that footage completely. But I've woken up this morning and I had a chat with Shane, and he came in and helped me come up with a different idea for this week. Rather than carrying on with this, we came up with a new plan. So we wrote the little plan down. He picked out some colors for me, helped me with some little titles, and that's where I'm going from today. So I'm going to start from here, but just wanted to, rather than pack this all away and just start afresh, I wanted to let you know that this doesn't always work out the way you want it to, and I know I would normally say just push on because it doesn't have to be perfect, but sometimes if you really don't like something, start again. I had no commitment to this, nothing was glued down, so I've got no reason that I can't start fresh. I've had my coffee and I'm ready to go, so let's do this. So we worked out the reason that I wasn't loving the spread is that I was forcing myself to work with colours that I didn't love because that was what's left in my kit. I've used this kit so much that I really only have a few bits and pieces left, and I was trying to force myself to use it. So instead we decided what I really wanted to do was to play a bit more. So I grabbed out the Spencer Alpha stamp, and that's why Shane had helped me come up with some titles, because I'm going to use this alpha stamp to stamp out some little journal cards and then use the leftovers of my black puffy alphas to add to those titles. So we had to be aware of the fact that I only had 3 E's left and I've got 3 cards that I want to do. So that's why we planned out these titles before we started. I would love to say that I picked out this ink, but Shane picked out this ink to match the floral card that I had for my title card, which I still wanted to use because I really loved that pattern. So he went through all of my inks and decided that this colour suited it best, which I have to wholeheartedly agree. So you can see what I'm doing here. I've just trimmed out some 3x4 white cards just from some scrap cardstock, and then I'm using my Spencer Alphas to stamp out one half of a title down the bottom in this ink. And you'll see we've had to pick really small words for them to fit across the bottom of the card. So this did require a tiny bit more planning than I probably normally do on Project Life, as you know. This one here, I'm not writing Foog, I'm just using the C as a placeholder because I am cheating and stamping out the whole word in one go, just because I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to fit it onto the card. I was worried that if I stamped one letter at a time, I would run out of space. So this is a nice way to be able to get it centered, and food was the only word that I had to re-stamp the second letter. And actually stamping all of them, the whole word in one go, as you can see, it's stamped nice enough, like it wasn't an issue. That ink is Versamagic ink, so it is a chalk ink, and it does take a little while to dry. So I am moving on with my title card while I let those 3x4 cards dry before I run them through my typewriter. So I'm going to work on my title card, and here's where I end up changing my mind. I was going to stamp this as usual in my Memento black tuxedo ink. Can't remember, sorry, it's very early this morning. And as I went to stamp it, I was like, no, I wonder if the green will stand out, because there wasn't really a lot of black on my layout and I didn't want that title card to stick out too much. So I decided I would stamp it in that same Versamagic ink, with the understanding that if it didn't stand out enough, I could always stamp the black over top. So I decided to try the green first, and as you'll see, it stands out perfectly. Like, that's more than enough contrast to be able to see it. I really loved the way it looked, that sort of tone on tone. So I carry on with that, and I could only stamp week one half at a time, so I did a wee and then eek afterwards. And there are no numerals with this alpha set, so I am going to use the little little numerals on the black puffy stickers there, because I'm going to use those black puffy stickers a lot through this spread anyway, so that will tie the whole thing together. I've got a little label and I just wanted to check how that looked before I carried on, and as I said, to see whether I needed the black on there as well, and I don't. I really like the sort of softness, but also the I guess the graphic nature of having all these words over it. I really like it. It's considering how hard I had to work to get to this point, and like I said, I can't really take any of the credit because Shane did most of the thinking on this one. This spread turns out to be one of probably my most favorites from 2018, and I think it is because of that really graphic nature that using these really big words gives it. So you can see I've added in my label there with my date stamp and then just the numbers 51, and now I'm going to take these little 3x4 cards which have dried and just run them through my typewriter to add a little bit of journaling to the spread. I wanted the typewriter because I wanted to keep it sort of clean, rather than trying to add my handwriting in. You all know how I feel about my handwriting, it's not my favorite, so I decided to keep this more graphic. I could have run those through the printer, maybe typed out my journaling on a computer and done that first, but I will say I stuffed up the journaling on the bottom one here, this food card, so I did have to re-stamp that so that I could redo the typed journaling. So I think if you were going to print your journaling out first, I would do that first and then do the stamping afterwards, so that way if the stamping does get messed up, or you could always re-stamp it later. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm repeating the same thing. It's the same theory I use a lot, really, which is pick something that works and do it more than once. So I've got the big words and I'm adding the second half of my title on with these little black alphas. And in the end, I didn't use all the E's anyway. I think I did quite well to pick out words. It did take us quite a while to sit there and sort of brainstorm titles that weren't going to use up all those E's. And in the end, I still got one left. So these alphas are still going strong. I love these little alphas. There's so many on the sheet that you can really fit. You can get so many projects out of this kit. So that's sort of the basics, and I didn't really want to embellish too much, but I did have these tiny word stickers here that I haven't even used, so I decided to pull them out and just add one to each of my photos, because they do sort of go along with that clean, graphic, wordy kind of look that I've ended up with this week. So I was just picking out little phrases to match each of the photos there. I don't need to worry too much about them being literal, because I do have journaling this week, which was a nice change as well. So that's it. That's this week all done. It's bold, it's graphic. I really love it, and I can't take any of the credit for it, really. I think it just goes to show that sometimes when you aren't loving something, it does pay to step back for a minute, rethink, and maybe reassess the angle that you're coming from. Or talk it out with your husband, I guess. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.